I'm being far from controversial in declaring the baby arc the best arc of GT by a fairly wide margin. I wouldn't say it's as good as any of the arcs of Toriyama's manga, with some notable inconsistencies, such as Vegeta knowing what Sifruian Ki feels like, or the Sugoroku space section being made possible for fairly arbitrary reasons, while providing nothing to the plot, but it also displays how great GT's ideas are, with execution far better than in the other arcs, with Baby being one of the most innovative and complex villains in the franchise, and the use of mind control turning the Dragon Team against Goku not being a bad utilization of the trope. I won't focus too much on Baby for this video though, as I have plans to go over him in a future one. Instead, I will go over the most iconic aspect of GT introduced in this arc, Super Saiyan 4. There's a few obvious aspects to it standing out, such as its process tying into Vegeta's imagining of the previous Super Saiyan in the Frieza arc anime, as well as its design being far removed from the previous forms to show it as fundamentally different and referred to as 4 more for simplicity. What makes it stand out is the method of achieving it, in Goku gaining rationality while in the Golden Ozaru form through Pan's plea, making it a masterful payoff for both Goku's character arc, the themes attached to the form as a plot device, and its mechanical coherency. Going over the latter first, it works well as another route towards what Rodai Kaioshin noted on the Super Saiyan forms being the incorrect way to power up, and it being fitting he would help bring it out of Goku, as it seems to not burn through Ki as quickly as Super Saiyan 2 or 3, to the point it becomes Goku's default transformation if Super Saiyan isn't enough thereafter. It serves a similar purpose to the Kaioshin's own ritual, despite being technically inferior in bringing the Saiyan's Ki to its limit rather than far beyond it. Its ability to go beyond its limits under the right scenario makes up for it, and the power scaling of GT would suggest the ritual to have become closer to just one of many power-ups. Some may cite it as inconsistent for Rodai Kaioshin to name it, or know of it when they barely knew the name of a Super Saiyan in the Buu arc. But that's ignoring the obvious in that they did know what Super Saiyan was, when astutely aware of all the events while they were sealed, and simply didn't care to remember the name until more respectful of it. Nor would it have been possible to restore Goku or Gohan's tails in the Buu arc, with his ritual proving far more efficient for the scenario, and time being of the essence once Gohan failed. It also follows the rules of well-written power systems well, in combining two previously established categories of Ozaru and Super Saiyan rather than coming out of nowhere. The form also acts as the narrative foil to Baby's ideals and the themes of the arc. Baby views the Saiyans as a violent species while respecting their Saya power as a tool for his Sufruization in order to combine the brawn he acknowledges with the Sufruin brains he believes make him superior. In combining the pinnacle of a Saiyan's primal strength and ferocity with rationality and compassion without the need to combine things unnaturally, Super Saiyan 4 proves superior to Baby. This leads to Buruma attempting to do the same with Baby in making him a Golden Ozaru. But, even though his strength initially surpasses Goku's, the unnatural Sufruian influence on Vegeta's body prevents Super Saiyan 4 from being attainable, and Goku's accessing to the form's full power with the help of his family and Trunks has Dragon Ball's message that Ki cultivation comes best from struggle, the right mindset, and positive ideals, such as unity, rather than possession or theft, come about as Baby is once more overpowered. This is displayed well with how ineffective the last revenge death ball Baby uses on Goku is, not only for the latter's power-up, but the technique essentially being an evil Genki Dama, and not being as effective after those he enslaved no longer served him, as opposed to Goku's power-up coming from his allies willingly aiding him. It also presents a greater method of the flourishing of a species or culture, with baby morphing Saiyans and Earthlings into Cypherians, whereas Super Saiyan 4 Goku represents the reinforcing of Saiyan ideals and genetics, with the Earthling philosophy that allowed him to ascend far beyond the typical savage Saiyan, and represent the most cultivated state of their species. In much the same way, many real-world cultures integrated aspects of foreign culture in ways to advance them morally, politically, or militarily, such as China's adoption of Buddhism and Japan's adoption of Chinese writing, philosophy, and culture, that are both relative to the narrative of Dragon Ball. Or, in the West, the integration of Greek culture and terms into the New Testament writings, and vice versa, the Greco-Roman world adopting Christianity, in what is relevant to a future video I will do on another Shonen Jump work. Or, to shorten all this into gym vernacular, baby is juicing, whereas Goku is all natty. Finally, there's its impact on Goku's character arc. Despite having come to realise the monstrous nature within him as his Ozaru self in the past, this is an aspect of himself he wasn't given the opportunity to overcome, which could be seen as missed potential for one who seeks to conquer himself most of all. Even though he had balanced his Saiyan nature with his nurtured consciousness through Super Saiyan, it wasn't the same as overcoming the Ozaru subconscious, responsible for his adoptive grandfather's death. It is also arguable if he would be able to rationalise it at a far earlier time, when not having grown up fully embracing his Saiyan nature or spending his formative years in their society as Vegeta did. When viewing the path of his other Super Saiyan forms, it can be seen as them acting as build-up for him controlling his golden Ozaru self. With Dragon Ball being rooted in several Eastern spiritual concepts, many of its transformations can be seen as akin to a form of enlightenment, as I've already mentioned before, with the refinement of at least the regular Super Saiyan aiding in refining his consciousness. It is fitting that Super Saiyan 4 has red marks around the eyes, with it likely referencing Sun Wukon's burns around his eyes after his torture in Lao Tzu's Crucible, making it perfect for a character that started as a Sun Wukong reimagining, and being the end result of his heightened consciousness with his primal nature, as Yin and Yang perfectly balanced, through the perseverance of his love for Pan, and being able to calm the storm inside himself, for the magnum opus of his transformation journey, and lead into the conclusion of the Buddha-Taoist aspects of his arc that we'll eventually get to. Moving away from GT's best arc, but sticking on emotions of love and compassion, the next video will go over what I'd say is the worst arc of GT, and how even that has one notable high point.